Okay, I think we're back online. I'm going to tweet out and let everybody know. And hopefully some folks will start rejoining. If you're out there, leave a comment, please, please. Starting this again, there was a great number of people in there. I think we're back online. Let me get the link to this guy. There you guys are. Sorry about that. My internet dropped out completely. It's been doing this all day long. I'm sure I look terrible tonight. I apologize, you guys. I'm going to tweet out the link again for this new one since we had that. Not my normal problem. I sincerely apologize. Aaron, if you could maybe find out who did the super chats that I didn't get to, I want to make sure that I hit those people up and get their questions answered. Oh, always fun and games around here, folks. Hope you're having fun. Okay, I just tweeted that back out. We should be up and running. It looks like there's only 20 people back, so we'll give it a second. Thank you, Aaron. You're a lifesaver. Folks, if you have not congratulated Aaron yet, please do. Oh, Andy Anderson, you're absolutely right. The rigmarole around here is it's winning tonight. It's winning. Messed up my headphones and everything. Good Lord. I apologize, folks. That is not something that usually happens, despite how terrible my internet usually is. That was really bad. It looks like we'll get folks joining back in here in a second, and that will be just fine. Looks like they're coming along. So, as we were talking about, it's definitely trouble. Oh, it looks like it's on the same one. That's interesting. Okay. We're just going to keep that rolling. Yeah. I believe the last question that we were on was not actually, I lost it. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to tweet this one out so that hopefully we can get everybody back. And what they have to do going forward is overall, I'm not sure if this is actually addressing the last question that we had, but it's going to be trouble. In fact, I just did an interview earlier today that I think you guys will see later in the week that's really about like how all these college examples that we've seen for this virus, how that affects everything. And squeezing the players in after the Mahomes contract is going to be even harder, especially when any free agent signing and even, quite frankly, some extension signings are going to be less stable. You're going to feel less great about that evaluation because of all this COVID stuff. The lack of training, the lack of preparation changes not only how well a guy shows up when he first comes to camp, but honestly, how he performs throughout the year. The old saying that this is not your dad's NFL. NFL is a 365 game at this point. And that lack of prep sometimes shows up later in the season. I think that could be it. After the Mahomes contract, you have to rely on guys that not only perform well, but that you have the faith in that they will continue to prepare the way that they need to be ready. Oh, man. Apologies, you all. I see you guys joining back, and I really appreciate that. Not my best night, but those things happen. That wasn't what I meant to do. Great question, Alan. And I hope that you've joined back in at this point. Are they going to have a season? That's a really good question. What we've seen from the college ranks, LSU, K-State had a big cluster. Clemson, and then the LSU one this weekend, right? There's been several schools that have started to practice and tried to get back on track that weren't able to do it. Too much close proximity. Evidently, I guess the K-State one was also had to do with some extracurriculars. It wasn't necessarily just on the field. But the virus is going to play its toll. I just don't know how much it's going to be. It's difficult. I think there's going to be a season. I think the NFL is specifically, drastically focused on making sure there is a season of games to play this year. I think there's going to be some forfeitures. I think there are going to be teams that have so much infection at some point. I don't know if that's going to be 8 or 10 players or if it has to get to 20 players or something, but there's going to be teams that are going to be unable or uncomfortable in fielding a team. I have a really good conversation with Matt Derrick that's coming out on the podcast tonight and tomorrow, where we talk about some of that and how it might change. Like, this may lead to a lot of innovation, of having to be creative with how you're doing the adjustments that you have to do when you have sick players that you can't get out on the field. But I do feel that unless there's something really systemic where all teams are getting to the point where they have to not be able to field a team, I really do feel like there is going to be a season. The NFL is going to make sure of that no matter what. Jimmy, you're the man. Let's see. Norman, how are you? If your internet is finally going to be fixed in the year 2020, hopefully. Yeah, I hope so too, man. I got my fingers crossed. I check in basically every week with the fiber company that is supposedly bringing fiber up the mountain. And things are moving along slowly, but they're moving. So I'm still optimistic. I'm hoping at this point that it's in by the season and all these streams will be great. I'm even going to try to live stream some of the games. If the games are on and I have good internet connection, I might just do play-by-play over the top of it. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. I've toyed with it. There are a couple of companies trying to recruit me to do that for their Chiefs games. I don't know if that's really added value for you or not, but we can play it by ear. Scott, is there a chance that Hill, Hardman, Watkins, Kelce, and Edwards-Helaire or Damien Williams will have 1,000-yard seasons at once? Whew, that's tough. The 5,000-yard season was tough to accomplish. Quite frankly, if the defense is better, I don't know that they have to put up that many yards. So I think more than 4 is tough sledding. I think you're going to see Hill and Kelce definitely get 1,000 yards. I think they're the two focuses. Beyond that, if you're talking about Edwards-Helaire or Damien Williams getting 1,000 yards combined, I can definitely see one of them doing that, whoever plays more games. I think it will start out as Damien. I think will end as Clyde Edwards-Helaire by the end of the season. I just don't know what happens in between. But all of them, no, I don't think so. I think this offense is going to top out around 4,600, 4,800 yards. I don't think they hit the 5. I don't think they have to. So that kind of brings that down a little bit. And the Chiefs like to spread around. Mahomes likes to throw the ball to everybody. You're going to see Robinson in there. You're going to see the tight end too, whoever it ends up being, get some yardage there as well. Oh, Santos, you have tickets for the Vegas game. You think it's the game of the year. I think it's the game of the year in the AFC West, probably. It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a heavy dose of the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to be very good. I think they're going to come closer to beating the Chiefs than they have before. I think that's probably the game of the year. But in the AFC West, I think it's the Raiders that give them their best run, and may even be able to score enough points to keep it close in a game, likely the one in Vegas. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. It's nice to hear that when something goes really crazy like it did tonight. Again, folks, I'm sorry for the hiccups. Jacob, how long is Anthony Hitchens' contract and how much would it save the Chiefs to cut him before the season in 2021? I believe this is his last year under contract. I can check that for you real quick, but I do believe this is the last one. And so there's almost zero. I want to say it's like $300K that they save against the cap if they were to cut him. Not anywhere near enough to do that, especially given that they're talking about not really having a dedicated backup. And I am checking his contract right now, and I lied. I was incorrect. I forgot that they made a change, and they changed his base. So he's at 7.8 base salary this year, a cap charge of 12.7, but he is under contract for 21 and 22. And they can't affect any major savings until after this. So we'll see what happens. And it looks like the savings would be 6.7. I think when he signed, we were all in pretty lockstep that this was definitely the year that he would have to stay here till, and anything beyond 2020 was going to be a question of performance. So I don't think anything's really changed with that per se, but there will definitely be some hiccup. Can I see him really making enough of an impact to get himself another year? I'm not sure. I'm likely thinking this is probably the last one for Anthony Hitchens in Kansas City. Testicular. I like the way you framed that. It's very. I just watched The Witcher last week with the kids, or with the wife. I mean, it sounds very like it should be in there. Hot and spicy. Who would you have left if the Chiefs drafted Jonathan? How would you have felt if the Chiefs drafted Jonathan Taylor? In the second, I would have felt great. I liked him. I actually had him ranked overall above Edwards-Helaire, him and Swift. In terms of being an all-around back, I do feel that he was a little bit better. I don't like the fumble thing, but I would have been okay with that in the second, definitely not in the first. Edwards-Helaire was a first-round pick because of his fit. Nobody else fit the Chiefs as well as that, so that's the only reason that I'm okay with it. I think he's going to be a good player in this offense, and I'm excited to see what he does. Excuse me. Firefighter Farmer, I'm glad you're back. Where do we get the cap space for Jones if he signs his franchise tag this year? His franchise tag is already built into the cap because when they put it on him, it goes into the cap at that point. So they have, I think it's 6.2 right now in cap space, and that does include Chris Jones. If they were to work out a long-term extension and say he was only 8 against the cap this year, the Chiefs would get that back. But right now they're all set. Abby, how are you? Would you rather delete your YouTube channel or leak your phone number? That's a good question. I like the YouTube channel. I like you guys. I think I'll keep my phone number to myself for the most part, though. I get enough robocalls as it is, I promise you. How much of a negative impact will Pat's contract make towards paying other players? That's the big question. And quite frankly, that's the reason that they haven't completed it yet. I know they're talking a good game and they're saying, hey, we want to wait till we're working on it now. They're waiting. Nobody's working on it now. It's not going to happen. I don't see any way that it happens before this season because they don't know what their cap is for next year. Until they know whether they can have games and have fans in seats, we have no idea what they're going to actually have to work with in terms of revenue dollars. So I don't see any. I mean, this is the same. This is why Jamal Adams hasn't been signed and why he's pissed because nobody's signing their big stars to long-term contracts because they don't know if they're going to have the cap space to do it. Anything that they sign now is binding. Whether their revenue drops by $50 million or not next year, they're still anchored into it. And that's the scary part for the teams. Andy, please tell me Dan did get a new mic. I saw on Twitter. He definitely did. His audio is improved. He went and made the investment because he wanted to give you guys a good product. He is really dedicated to doing this, and he wants to make a big impact, not only on this channel, but on Chiefs Kingdom in general. He's a good dude, and he's coming along. YouTube was a stretch for him. He wasn't a natural at it, but he's working his butt off at him. So part of it is the mic, but he's also getting better at it too. So give him some support, you guys. Joshua, as far as cap, isn't there a big increase year coming up with reworked TV deals? So maybe Mahomes' deal won't be so limiting. In general, there should be a bump. I wouldn't say it was a big increase, but you would generally see about 10%. So it might be like 18-ish is what they were thinking before COVID. But the money is built on dollars that come from selling ads on the games. And without that, there's a case to be made that without fans in seats, that the interest goes down, even though that's kind of counterproductive. I don't think that the increase that is already built into the TV contract is going to be enough to sustain them if they can't sell tickets. Even at 50% occupancy, you're going to see a reduction in the salary cap. So I think it's way more likely that the salary cap is lower than it next year than it is now, then it's higher. Hot and spicy. Which tight end from the draft would have fit perfectly with the Chiefs? This last draft, there was one guy that I liked, and I can't remember who it was right now. Was it DeGora? No, it was Claypool, because Claypool, I think, is a better tight end than a wide receiver. This tight end class was actually pretty poor. The year before that, it was Foster Moreau, who would have been perfect in this offense. Enough vertical threat to make it work, but definitely strong enough to block and can play underneath in the drag route kind of area. Raiders picked him up. Nothing you can do about it. Ponaquai, aloha to you, my friend. Should we do Chris for Jamal? I'm going to tell you that tomorrow in the rumors video. I did a whole video on it because that's really the big talk of the town, right? And I did all the research. I wanted to look at the contracts. All that information's in there. But the second part of your question, experts say Chiefs would be in better financial benefit as far as saving more money than extending Chris. And it's something I touch on in the video tomorrow night. So make sure you guys watch that. But it's also tied to the value of the position. And while that's a norm, it doesn't mean that some teams will spend outside of that. So I can't say that that's 100%. But I break it all down. I give you the contract stuff tomorrow and some highlights. So tune in for that tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. I put a lot of work into that one this weekend. It was Father's Day and my family just kind of chilled and took care of me for a while. That was great. So I did something for you guys, and that'll come up tomorrow night. Doodles, what's your thoughts on Mahomes making his voice heard as the face of the NFL? Usually quarterbacks don't say much. I think it's ballsy of him, to tell you the truth. The guy's up for a contract. Normally people don't make, efforts outside that might cost them money. This is certainly something that in the past has cost quarterbacks money, speaking out for social issues that don't align with your play on the field. So I applaud him for it. Like I said in my breakdown last week, and if you guys missed that, go back and listen to it, because I sincerely meant that. It is incredible for Kansas City to have not only the best quarterback in the league, but a guy that could significantly change the way people relate to each other across the whole country, sports fans or not. And Patrick Mahomes has the charisma and the performance, and quite frankly, the wisdom before his age is how I feel about it, because his dad was a pro athlete and dealt with, different guys from different lives inside of a locker room. I think he can make a big difference in the society. I'm not saying he's Kobe. I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan, but I feel like he can have an influence on the way we live in America outside of football. Spicy, how do you feel about Josh Jones? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. The Josh Jones alignment, I was on. Beyond that, I'm not 100%. How do you feel? You tell me. Pono, our defensive backfield would be tops, and our defensive line would still be respectable. I assume that you're talking about that trade that you brought up earlier. My problem is I like Colin Saunders a lot. Mike Pennell and Derek Nottie are not pass rushers. They're good. They'll give you some push, but they are not gap shooting pass rush D tackles. Colin Saunders can be. I do feel that he has that potential, but he's not there yet. And so without Chris Jones, you don't have much pass rush from the inside positions unless you're doing that rotation where you put Tano in or you put Frank inside or possibly Taco or possibly Mike Dana. Dana's got a big jump coming from Central Michigan. Yes, he played at Michigan last year. I didn't think it played out that well for him. I don't want to see Frank inside, so that's really limiting your possibilities. Is Breland Speaks healthy? I don't even know. I think it would be I think it would significantly diminish the defensive line's pass rush ability if they moved Chris Jones. I don't feel like they backfilled a specific 3-technique pass rusher in case he moved on. So that's the bottom line. Let's see. Low Lip, how are you? Should we trade for Jamal Jones knowing that Chris is for Chris Jones, knowing he will only take a 17-ish extension. I don't think he gets that from anybody, even the Cowboys. The franchise tag number is 11.4, I think. If he got 15, he should be happy. There's no way he gets 17, in my opinion. But no. And I'm going to address the whole scenario of Chris Jones for Jamal Adams tomorrow night on the video. Can anyone outrun Tyreek Hill? He's called the cheater for a reason. That's a good question, Stacey. In terms of electronic timing, Henry Ruggs, the rookie in Las Vegas, was 200ths behind him by the best stopwatch that I've found. And that is not from an official electronic timing at the combine. That's from a scout's watch that is a friend of someone I know. He's still, I think, a little bit physically immature. He could actually end up being faster than Tyreek. We will have to see. Dustin, how much longer do you see Sammy with the Chiefs? I think this is it. I could be wrong. I thought last year was it because of the money. But I will say the same thing. I think he's going to just price himself out. He's an expensive wide receiver. I know he took a pay cut, but unless he has a 1,000-yard season, I don't think he's going to be back in 2021. Tim Countryman, do you see any UDFA linebackers making the roster? If so, who? I don't. I think the only UDFAs that I see making the roster are Darrell Williams, and I'm going to put my money on Lavert Hill. Possibly Jarius Davis, the small nickel corner, but I think it's going to be corner or line. Spicy, why do you think the Chiefs passed up on Christian Fulton? I think, honestly, he didn't play big in big games enough for them. I think they look at how pressure affects players. I think if he had gone to the Senior Bowl and really shown out, I think that might have helped him. They do put some stock in that. But without those two things, I think that's probably why they were a little low on him. He did give up some big plays. I liked him, but I think that's probably why they did not. Kansas Caroliner, how are you? Just got back on. Not sure if you got my question. Oh, I didn't, and I apologize. If the season is shortened, will the owners try to prorate the players' salaries like Major League Baseball is trying to do? They don't have to. The way that the league contracts are set up, it's game checks. So they are specifically doled out as part of a derived table per game. If you don't play the game, you don't get a check. That's part of the deal. So I don't think there's going to be that obstacle. I think what you're going to see is a battle about safety and about whether players feel it's safe for them to expose their families or to give up their freedom and live inside of a team facility for 6 months. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong. Casey Masterpiece, will the Chiefs trade for Jamal Adams? Again, big video coming tomorrow night. I'll get that edited up tonight. I will let you guys know if there's any delays, but I don't expect there will be. I have the bulk of it recorded. It will be out tomorrow night, and I will talk specifically about that scenario in the rumors. Let's see who's next. Again, folks, I'm sorry for the up and down and the dropping that first connection. I will try to get to the rest of these questions before we wrap up here in a couple of minutes. And Jeremy Green, you're back. Are you playing nice with people? I hope so. Concepcion, what does Dak's status tell you about Mahomes' upcoming contract? He signed his franchise tag today. It tells me that, like I felt all along, that Dak thought he was worth more than the league did. That's for certain. Definitely more than Jerry Jones is willing to spend. It also tells me that Dak Prescott is not going to be somebody that resets the quarterback market. He shouldn't be. He's nowhere near what Mahomes is. He's not in there with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I don't even think he's a $30 million quarterback, to tell you the truth. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's in the top 5. And he doesn't deserve to make money in the top 5. I think Mahomes is probably still in that 42 to 45 range. Like you saw me say last week, if you missed it, go check out the $50 million thing that I put out last week. I think that's crazy, and I think this goes to reinforce that they're not going to pay him that. Jason Streeter, with all the young players on the O-line, how long will Cam Irving be on the roster? He's not. He was released. And I think that I don't see any reason for them to bring him back. I want to say that really, what do they have? I think they have like 13 or 14 offensive linemen on the roster currently. Now, that's practicing group, right? In fact, I am wrong. Cameron Irving did sign with the Dallas Cowboys. He is a Cowboy. He will not be a Chief. I thought he was still out there as a free agent. I used to put my number at the end of podcast credits. Ooh, that was bad. Oh, that's not my number. I know what you mean, Jeremy. There is a dial-in number. It's 913-777-5447 or something like that. That is our call-in line for the Locked On Chiefs podcast. And I'll just say it now. If you guys have a question you want on the podcast, go leave a voicemail there. That's similar to what I'm trying to do here in the future. When we get the memberships, I'm going to let members ask questions via video, and I'll try to use them in the videos. We do the same thing with audio on the Locked On Chiefs podcast. When you leave your voicemail, we use the audio from you. Let's see. Hot and spicy. Juan Thornhill. And a first for Jamal. Not even close. I'm not giving up Juan Thornhill. Juan Thornhill is going to be a Pro Bowler, if not an All-Pro at the free safety position. I am certain of that. Unless something goes haywire with injury. Nick, if you had to say, what team do you think Jamal will go to? I think it's Dallas. I think in the end, that's where he wants to go. I think they're the team who needs a safety. And in the end, I think Jerry's willing to spend money on him and not on Dak. So that's where I'd put my money. Steve Concepcion, do you think college football players should be paid? I think they should be paid for their jersey sales. I don't think they should just be paid a salary. No. But Jamar Chase, when they sell jerseys with his number on it that say Chase on the back, he should get a cut of that. When they sell pictures or he signs autographs, he should be able to sign autographs for himself. That's him. That's not the school. That's him. I do believe they should be able to earn money based on their performance and their jersey sales. But just a straight up salary, no. They already get a stipend, which is, for all intents and purposes, something to pay your base bills. I don't think that you have to give them anything more than that, but I do think they have to be able to make something off of their own likeness, their own input into a college program. Let's see, Doodles, have you read the article saying the Seahawks should trade a first and a third for Jones? Would you take that deal? I would take that deal in terms of value. I don't think those articles have any clue what's going on in the head of John Schneider or Pete Carroll. I don't think there's any way in the world that they do that. Again, because they have enough salary issues that I don't think they can afford another huge contract like that. That's why they haven't signed Clowney. And I think that's where he will eventually play again, but that's why they haven't done it yet. Oh, shoot. I scrolled too far. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the rest of these. I didn't realize we were 10 over because of my mistake with the feed. I apologize again. Thank you for coming back. And if you left a super chat in the first one and I didn't actually get to answer it, let Aaron know and I'll answer it in this one or next week's, I swear. BU, any chance that Tamu wins the backup spot? No. Okay. Thanks, Aaron. All of this year's draft, who do you think starts and makes the biggest impact? Right now, I think it's Willie Gay Jr. in terms of starting. I think he'll probably start 12 games, maybe 14. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire will probably start 6 or 8 games. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is probably going to be the first guy off the bench most of the time. If there's an injury, he will get starts, is my thought. Thank you for that one, Aaron. John Hernandez, who do you think the team in our division pop out this year? I think it's the Raiders. Low Lip, in general, who do you prefer? Would you prefer a better pass rush or better coverage? That's a great question. I've always been a proponent of both, of trying to have a balanced thing where your corners, in particular, safeties as well, but corners specifically, can buy a little bit more time for your pass rush to get home. And if your pass rush is good but doesn't have to be elite, it cuts down on the ability for those corners to have to cover for long times. But quite frankly, in the last couple of years, the speed at which offenses are getting the ball out, it's deflating a lot of the pass rush. And I think the coverage is actually more important right now. So when Tom Brady can get the ball in 2.2 seconds, you don't have much time as a pass rusher. That's just, you have to defeat another guy who's a professional at stopping you and get to the quarterback and cover roughly 7 yards in 2.2 seconds. That's a tall order. When you look at the 10-yard splits from the combine, Chris Jones ran a 1.82, right? So you're talking he has 0.4 seconds from his best ability to run to either run around or run over an offensive lineman who is also a professional at trying to stop him. I think that's a tall order, and I think that puts more emphasis on the defensive backs. Okay. Let's see here, you guys. Jimmy, does the presence of the virus over an extended period give time for the owners any opportunities to drive the price of veterans' contracts in the coming years? It kind of does, because in the end, if it's always going to be there, adaptations will occur. It's going to be about what those adaptations are in terms of revenue and getting people into the seats. And if they can't, then everybody's contract has to come down no matter what. I think you will see a bulk renegotiation. If there are no fans in seats this year, it's going to be difficult. And I think you're going to see a lot of changes. Tim Country, do you think tackle will be the starting end? No, I think he'll be the first guy off the bench. I think Okafor is going to be healthy. I think he's going to start opposite Frank. Oh, I knew what you meant, Jimmy. Norman, who do you think the line is in line to be the next offensive coordinator maybe in 2020? I think it's Mike Kafka. Evidently, there were teams looking to steal him away last year. And I agree with you. I think Eric Bieniemy will be a head coach by 2021. So I think it will be Kafka coming up next. Nice try, Alex. Oh, big test. Jeff KC and Thomas Patwater. Thank you all for your contributions. Aaron, let me know. Thank you, Aaron, for keeping me straight. Guys, if you have any questions below, I'm going to look for those right now. And I apologize for before. And it doesn't look like you have yet, but if you want to right now, no worries. Shout those out. Because James asked, does Andy Reid help Brett Veach scout players? No, he does not. Andy Reid is kind of like the proof. He's the guy who makes the final decision. He's kind of the icing on the cake. The area scouts scout their guys. They write reports that come back to Ryan Polis first, and then to Mike Borgonzi. And then they review them and watch film on them and review them. Then they take them to Brett Veach. Brett Veach reviews them, digs through, especially anybody that really stands out to Mike and Ryan Polis. Brett Veach really digs into them. If Brett Veach falls in love with him or finds something really unique, he takes it to Andy. That's what happened with Mahomes. That's what happened with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's the general process. Now, there's always things that do things a little bit differently, but that's the general way that it goes. It is very much up the chain. Area scouts report to national scouts. National scouts report to the directors of personnel, like Borgonzi. Directors report to the GM. And it really makes sense that way because you have to keep everything kind of structured and in a way that you can trickle everything up in an efficient way without overloading the one guy at the top or the two guys at the top, like Borgonzi. Yeah, that's it. Nathan Altick. Chiefs don't extend Jones. Does a DT become a priority, or are you comfortable with Saunders Noddy next year? I wouldn't say it becomes an absolute priority, but you definitely need to backfill that. I think it would be a free agent to become part of that rotation, a D tackle that pass rushes specifically. What does the draft look like for if they cancel college football? I'll tell you immediately, Dan and I will be digging into the 2019 film because we have a ton of it. I did a ton of review before this last draft. If they don't play this year, we have all the information we need to give you reviews right away. And Dan is on board. Dad is a grinder. If you guys don't know him, he hasn't been doing this as long as me, but he's been doing it a couple of years now, and he's good. He has a good eye. and we're going to give you everything that we can. I appreciate you, Tim. Thank you, Norman. Low Lip, thank you. Thomas, there you are. Let me get yours. Any chance of seeing more 3 tight end sets, or what was an Alex Smith game plan? I think that could happen. I would like to see that. I think especially because you have acceleration advantages. If you go out in 3 tight end and they run out linebackers there, Ricky Seals-Jones will run past them, Travis will run past them, and Yelder's better than you think. So I think that is a place to get some mismatches. That's a great observation, and I hope that actually happens. Oh, Doodles, that's okay. I don't like Colin much anyway. What are your thoughts on who will play on the other end of the line? This is what I was talking about before, Robert. I think Okafor will start as long as he's healthy, and my guess is he's going to be. Last question. Casey Masterpiece, how are you? What player or piece is out there that the Chiefs need and is available through a trade or a signing to run it back? The Ravens are the new Patriots to the Chiefs. In terms of like their biggest opponent, yes. But I don't think the Ravens are anywhere near the unflappable, experienced kind of team when you had McMinney and Brady and Belichick. Nothing against John Harbaugh. I think he's great. You have inexperience at some other key places. I wouldn't call them the new Patriots. But the one need that I see is they still need a shutdown corner, somebody that could take away half of the field. The Chiefs don't have that, in my opinion. That's what I'd like to see them add. Alex, do you think Mahomes could theoretically pitch for the Royals? I don't see why not. He was signed to a minor league contract before he went to Tech, so sure. Why did everyone miss so big on Mahomes' pre-draft evaluation? I saw Kyle Krabs rated him 76th overall. It's because he was, quite frankly, he was not a standard quarterback. He didn't set from a platform. He was all arm. He threw a lot of yards and a lot of interceptions, and it was difficult to project whether he could settle down. It's underrated how much work that, honestly, Matt Nagy did at first, but Kafka has done, and Bieniemy has done, and Andy Reid has done to settle down his feet and make him throw from a better platform when he's not on the run. He's excellent on the run. He didn't need help in that. He needed help in the pocket in setting something that he could repeat every drop back and get the ball out and deliver it accurately without having to do these micro adjustments that he's always doing when he's running outside the pocket. Okay, last one, I think here. Last one that I see anyway. So yes, this will be the last one. Nick, thank you. Do you think that Yelder deserves more credit? I think he deserves more of a chance. He hasn't done enough to really deserve credit. He had I think it was the Colts that he had a couple of nice grabs, but didn't have that much opportunity. I think he's earned more opportunity, and I do want to see him do that. I hope that he's gained some mass and gained some strength and he can actually block. I think there could be a role for him there. When Anthony Sherman is your second tight end in blocking, that's a problem. I think that's what it comes down to. Thank you, guys. Aaron, thank you for all of your help. I couldn't do it without you. People would be pissed, and I would miss all kinds of things if it wasn't for you, pal. You guys, I'll be back next Monday night. I hope all of you will too. I have the Jones-Adams trade scenarios tomorrow night in a video. We talk defense on Wednesday night, and we have the film breakdown of Javarius Ward on Thursday night. Check all those out. It's going to be a great week. I hope you guys have a good week too, and I'll check you next time.